Hello, everyone, and welcome to our 10th event in the Nightlight Poetry Series. My name is Tom Snarski, and I'm delighted to be here with you tonight on this beautiful June evening, welcoming four incredible readers who are going to share their work with us. I usually read this intro straight off of a Google Doc. I usually like script myself and say exactly what I plan to say. But I want to take a quick moment off script just to shout out this is not only our 10th Nightlight reading event, which I'm so glad is true. We've been going for almost a year in this version of the reading series, which is so cool. But last night I was up past midnight, as one is sometimes, and I got the little balloons on my Twitter account for the Nightlight Poems account there, which means that when this reading series first started, which was 5 years ago, June of 2019, as Performance Anxiety, not as Nightlight, it was 5 years ago to the day that we started the Twitter account and started inviting poets to share work with us. We had our first reading when I was extremely sweaty, similar to tonight, in July of 2019. We had 10 readers that all had 5 minute slots. It was like crazy logistics, but it gave me a great like feeling of nostalgia. At that point, I was co-organizing the reading series with the poet Kristen Garth. It was called Performance Anxiety. Now we exist as Nightlight, but I'm just so grateful that we've been doing this for going on 5 years now and looking forward to many more years of doing it to come. So without any further ado, I do want to say a little bit about the series in case this, whole commemorative moment doesn't strike you quite the same way it strikes me. We are Nightlight, a reading and sometimes conversation series that features poets and writers new and established in a monthly reading hosted virtually. We're usually on the third Thursday of the month at 9 p.m. Eastern, like this month. And in each of our events, we feature a group of invited readers to share a selection of their work with us. Having slots for readers every month means we're always looking for folks who'd be interested in participating. So if you know or are a poet or writer who'd be interested in sharing their work at a future event, please get in touch with us. We would love to hear from you. And we get so many amazing folks who join just by like reaching out on social media and getting in touch. We're on Instagram and Twitter at Nightlight Poems, sometimes with some underscores, sometimes without. And you can just reach out to me. I'm at Tom Snarski on most of the socials, or you can just email me at tomsnarski@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you if you'd like to read at a future event. So with all of that said, and with your, listening hats firmly on and getting excited for some poetry, I am going to stop saying my words and I'm going to invite our very first reader of the evening to share their words with us. And I'm very happy that our first reader of this evening is Lee Potts. Lee Potts is founder and editor-in-chief of the poetry journal Stone Circle Review, which is a wonderful place for contemporary poetry. His work has appeared in numerous journals, and his most recent chapbook is We'll Miss the Stars in the Morning from Bottle Cap Press in 2024. He lives just outside of Philadelphia with his wife and daughter. Lee, thank you so much for being with us tonight. I'm going to mute so you can take it away and read beautiful stuff you're going to share.
Thank you very much, Tom, and thank you for inviting me to read tonight. I appreciate it, and thank you all for being here. And I'm looking forward to the readings as the night goes on. I'm going to start with a handful of poems from my new chapbook, We'll Miss the Stars of the Morning, which Tom had mentioned, and then move on to maybe one new thing that isn't really out there yet, and then I thought I would finish up with one from my previous chapbook. So this poem is called "It May Not Have Been the Rain at All." I've mistaken the specks and threads floating in my old eyes for crows against storm clouds. Rain interrogates the shape of everything it falls on and finds the sword hidden in every monument's history. But once it ends, there's always a catastrophic forgetting. The rain becomes rivers, the sky's always clear. We'll see constellations cross the ancient stage for our tiny applause tonight. They always hit their marks. I am a man. I'm allowed to forget about my own body, to even forget that it's bound to dissolve like some soft, gritty pill under God's own tongue. This poem is called Night Went By Like Nothing. As the moon descended that night, it seemed more and more to be made of silver and flat. Empty branches divided the sky into shards and edges. and it might have been the god of broken glass. But our eyes were full of the fire we made. Its embers rose like the crumbs of us that eddy unseen behind our souls. Then, later, it was as dark as a room you're never going into, a dark that took our words before they reached our throats. And we slept, quiet and rough as salt at the bottom of a bowl. This poem is called Every Green Thing's Name. During every autumn's damp, incoherent days, you ordered more seeds than you could ever plant. They came in stiff paper packets and rattled, desiccated songs. You laid them out after dinner and tried to see into next summer with a tarot of petals, stems, thorns, and leaves. Winter turned the kitchen into a tabernacle closed around those dark hours, keeping them hidden and apart. Death soaked in like gray rain and rust off the shed's steel roof. You saw that one final spring and just a bit of summer. The weeds set in fast. A garden never stays a garden. The ocean's only word continued. I worked for your mother one summer digging, setting roots tangled in soil from some other place into holes about as deep and wide as a kettle. I relished disturbing stones, and my sweat soaked into the heart roots of a dozen peach tree saplings. That island didn't need an orchard, and the ocean was too close. A horse dies on the beach every few years, its guts twisted by sand and the tough surf grass. They tear up the dunes and die, leaving a record of pain that the wind revises as soon as they finally become still. We found one that summer, just out of reach of a full moon's high tide, the sand on its eyes like sugar on the back of a spoon. This poem is called Listen. Listen. We were living too far from town to hear the church bells announce a new hour, a wedding, a fire. The wood frame, nailed together and unseen within the walls, creaked prophecies in a tongue guttural and cruel every windy night. The foundations remain mute. The foundations remaining mute settled beneath us both, and I never thought to ask. Young ravens perched in the scrub pine down the hill called out our end every morning. That is, we were living like a dried branch held loosely over hidden water, shuddering, yearning. And then one last one from, I'm going to read the title poem from the chapbook. We'll miss the stars in the morning. Exhausted, but I am finally on a flight and empty for now of all departures. I wonder what everyone crossing this continent with me tonight wants above all else. What will you want when you arrive? Every light down there is where it is because someone felt a stab of desire. How do any of us navigate to what's always hidden behind the infinitely tender horizon, our course set by constellations of our own want? We trace white lines like thread taut between some of the most distant stars and devise creatures we alone can see or name. Always and forever on the same journey that first hauled us to our feet before we even had all the words, for what we were after. All right, this is one, I haven't read this one a whole lot. It's still pretty new, so please forgive me if I'm still working out some of the breaks. This is called As My Children Approach Their Late Middle Age. A silence that once occasionally passed by on the street while stars were sharing their chilly, distant grief has decided to visit tonight. It followed the traces of hours turned to carrion and joins me at my table. Here's the only teacher I have left. It reveals to me why the sky doesn't matter to me anymore, proves that no words will go with me, and eases the tedious ending of my anatomy. All right, and I'm not using up a lot of time, but I have one more that I'd like to do, and this is from my first chapbook. And if I could just pitch real quick, I have a few author's copies of this still on hand. So if anyone would like to get one, feel free to message me. I'd be happy to send you one. So this poem is called Honey Hollow Farm. Pray for the dead barn mouse caught between the oats barrel, dried up and deceived and finally beyond any claws. Pray for the yard dog and his 24 ticks, hanging like dirty teardrop pearls. Pray for the angry mob of sparrows. They hear the owl at dusk, but simply cannot see it. Pray for the pond still waiting to become glass again. The morning storm unsettled its silt. Pray for the harness hung from a nail, so near to the horses it aches to restrain. Pray for the pasture knocked flat with too much sun, the road divides, and the fence. Again, thank you very much. I appreciate it. And like I said, I'm looking forward to everyone else tonight. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lee, for getting us off to such a brilliant start. You can see Pumpernickel came over just to listen to you read, so she's very happy with your poems. And that, again, was Lee Potts, who you could find all over the planet on the socials at Lee Potts Poet, so LeePottsPoet. Lee is on Twitter /X, Instagram, and Blue Sky at that Lee Potts Poet handle. And that chapbook you heard a bunch of poems from in the beginning of Lee's set was called We'll Miss the Stars in the Morning from Bottle Cap Press. But also don't sleep on Lee's first chapbook, which is called And Drought Will Follow. And I believe that Lee mentioned that you can get a copy of that book if you reach out to Lee. It also has its own website, I believe, which is anddroughtwillfollow.com. But last but not least, I want to briefly shout out that Lee is not only an amazing poet, but also an incredibly careful and thoughtful editor of poetry for Stone Circle Review, which is a really beautiful website and a really beautiful place that hosts amazing poems basically daily. Like there's just new stuff that's amazing going out all the time. You can go to Stone Circle Review, also on all those social media platforms. And I strongly, strongly encourage you to send Lee some work if you're interested in submitting some poems there. Stone Circle is a really great company to keep. Can't say enough good things. So Lee, thank you for getting us off to this marvelous, marvelous start. And thank you for representing as well. We've kind of got like a bimodal thing going on in our set because Lee is outside of Philadelphia, and Lee is not the last Philadelphia area poet we are going to hear tonight. But we're going to take a brief detour towards my neck of the woods in Virginia. So I'm in like the northwesternmost part of the state of Virginia, pretty close to the West Virginia border. And I'm very, very excited to be welcoming a poet who's just down the street from me, someone I'm really excited to hear read. We've been trying to organize getting this poet onto our series for quite a while. So I'm so, so glad it's happening. And I'm very, very glad to introduce and welcome Wayne David Hubbard to Nightlight. Wayne David Hubbard is an award-winning poet, a Pushcart Prize nominee, and author of Mobius, Meditations on Home, and Death Throes of the Broken Clockwork Universe. He is the treasurer of the Poetry Society of Virginia, Virginia mentioned, and his work appears in various journals. Born and raised near Newark, New Jersey, he lives in Winchester, just down the street from me, and works in aviation. Wayne David, thanks for joining us tonight. I'm so, so excited to hear what you're going to read. This has been a long time in the making, so take it away, all you.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Tom, for the opportunity, and thank you everyone for being on tonight. Congratulations to you, Tom, on the anniversary. That's a big deal. And thanks for all you're doing for poetry. It's been really exciting to follow your work as well. I am going to read a number of poems. I'm going to try some newer ones as well. And the theme of many of these poems will be a sense of place. So they were either written in a particular place around the country or a place that is a part of my past. The first one I'm going to read is called Proof of Life, number 4. It appears in an anthology called Writing the Land, Wanderings 2. And this is a poetry project where poets are paired with environmental preservation sites across the state of Virginia and also across the country. And proceeds from the anthology support preserving our environment and our wildlife. Proof of Life, number 4. Deep in the winter solstice appears blue fire etched in footprints. A thread runs through cylinders of open, mine-like cities. The air is still here. The broken hills flash secret chimes, unlocking the chains of crossing shadows, marking an end to straight lines in nature. The answers resume their riddles. The next poem that I will read is entitled Sonora. It's a desert poem, but it's also dedicated to a friend I lost whose last name was Sonora. And I often wonder what he would think if he knew I was writing poetry now. Sonora. Now that I am out as a poet, nothing stalks me in my sleep. I fear not spilling dreams tonight. Tomorrow, there may be more. I became the shell that fell away. I flew 2,000 miles to touch a bougainvillea with my eyes. If ever I could stop my heart again, this spire would still rise without me. The next poem I'll read is another desert poem commemorating a very special place in my life, Joshua Tree National Park, where I lived and practically grew up exploring the desert, the Mojave. And the title of this poem is in dedication to that point in my life and that particular place. And the name of that place is called Keys View. Where at 20, he prayed overlooking Coachella, the Salton Sea, San Jacinto's eternity, where Virga split the desert's mouth, where starlight quenched what war set aflame. That he returned at 40 must mean it hurt him. Triumph of quiet and the deep. The next poem I'll read is a work in progress. This one's entitled The Glass House, after a real glass house that is located in Connecticut, a modern architectural wonder, and it kind of blew my mind. So this is me trying to reckon with the glass house. And it begins, step now, past the autumn vines, swallowing the ghost house. Follow the winding path to the open doors of a glass house, where outside is inside. Nature in panoramic view. In the morning, oak branches reach inside the kitchen, At dusk, the living room unpeels its cloak to ready the waiting hearth fire. And when it rains, a mist swallows the atrium, building sensations of moving on a ship made of cloud. But when the sky grows dark, the glass becomes a mirror, and everywhere you turn, you see yourself. The next poem I'll read is entitled Baldwin Hills. This is the first time reading a bit of an experiment. I actually wrote this poem for Lana Del Rey in Los Angeles. So maybe this is my response. It's called Baldwin Hills. LA is not a city of lights. LA is a city that sleeps, yet does not know she is dreaming. I washed my notebook in the sea. I lathered its pages in eucalypts and rosemary oil, for this is what you taught me. Crimson suns twisted through gray clouds like the sky might break, plunging fragments into the Pacific. I woke up on Venice Beach, an ocean pouring into my left ear, a siren whispering in my right, our bodies nowhere to be found. And I'll read a couple from my latest book called Death Rows of the Broken Clockwork Universe that came out in 2022. And now that we talked about the exterior, some of these get more into the interior, but just a couple. I think I'll read The Rebellion of Sisyphus. At first, the stones would not speak to me. On my last push, they wept that I would stay. Only those who chain death can guess how I reached the other side. And the last one I'll read is the title poem itself, Death Rows of the Broken Clockwork Universe. Perennial cloud that has no face, shriek of ages, song of me. Days of rages, fires, mazes, concussive shudder, flash of me. Inward fall to the other sea, inside a ghost light, roar of me. Nocturnal shroud of that other eve, finite tremor, wisp of me. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Wayne David, for reading those marvelous poems and for joining us. That again was Wayne David Hubbard, who you can find also on Twitter and Instagram at WDavidHubbard, WDavidHubbard. And Wayne David's up to a lot of wonderful things. So in May, Wayne David did a performance with a group of poets and musicians called In the Round, a jazz poetry experience. It was a one-time only performance that immersed an audience in spoken word and free jazz improvisation, but it received such high praise that it will happen again this November at Drum Orpheum Hall in Winchester, Virginia. So if you're in the neighborhood and you want to swing by and hear Wayne David do some more awesome stuff, also let me know because that's right by me. So I would love to see you there when that happens in November. Also, you can keep in touch with Wayne David's work at his personal website, which is waynedavidhubbard.com, WayneDavidHubbard.com, where you can find more about his books, Mobius Meditations on Home and Death Rows of the Broken Clockwork Universe. You just heard those closing poems from. Whew, that was really marvelous. What a beautiful way to open the first half of our reading. And we're going to continue our geographical ping pong a little bit. So we heard a little bit from outside Philly, or a little bit from this area of Virginia where I'm coming to you live from. We're going to go back to Philly to welcome one of my favorite poets writing, someone I'm really, really excited to hear from. My copy of I Have a Gun is over there in the cabinet. Otherwise, I'd flash it here. But this is Graham Irvin, ladies and germs. Graham Irvin lives in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He is the author of Liver Mush from Back Patio Press and I Have a Gun from Rejection Letters. Graham, thank you so much for being here. The floor is yours. I'm just excited to hear what you're going to tear it up with tonight.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Yeah, so I'm gonna start with reading relatively new stuff. I don't really, I guess, just stuff that's not in a collection, and then I'm gonna read from my two books to kind of get an idea of what I'm working with. And we'll see. Yeah, we'll see how we go. uh, so the first two I'm going to read are both like airplane centric for some reason. This is called starring Dane Cook. There's a movie called Planes that's not a sequel to the movie Cars. It's just from the world of Cars. When cars driving down the road in the world of Cars look into the sky, they see planes from the movie Planes. I think that's beautiful. It's something I would text you. How everything is a different movie in the same world. Your face and my face and our ears. The portable AC unit in my bedroom and the filter who wants a new life. The frozen bodies on Mount Everest and the good guys who live forever. Something funny I would text you if the gesture meant anything is the Lightning McQueen of the movie Planes is named Dusty Crophopper. Dusty Crophopper, we'd say out loud across the world of Cars together after you read the text. But my fingers are broken and the bones won't grow right. Can't even hold a phone. This is another plain poem. In the airport, a drug dog. In the airport, a drug dog checks my temperature. We're briefly married, but long distance never works. I'm preoccupied with spaceships as the cabin loses pressure, like maybe somewhere beyond the planets there's bigger sky, a more exotic Berlin or Vancouver, which is boring until I remember my dog husband has never tried cocaine. You know, fast food is a foreign concept. There's too many ways I could corrupt him, but our children go to state schools. It was the right decision. Just that airplanes make everyone emotional. The dumbest movies get me crying. Homeward Bound, Lady and the Tramp. I watched the whole Air Bud franchise on the flight to a more exotic Santa Fe. I couldn't get my mind off that dog. All right. This was like briefly when I was writing I Have a Gun, my book that just came out in March of this year. I was trying to maybe like if you haven't read it, it's a little bit more straightforward about the language, but I was trying to maybe nest some of the gun imagery. So I wrote this poem, Halal. The Christiana Mall is flooded, so I walk to get halal. I dream about a pizza factory filled with water. In the dream, a man abandons his car and walks to get halal. The man tells me the pretzel factory was filled with water. I show him paper bags from the Christiana Mall filled with water. The man from my dream says, I have a gun, so I let him order first. He tells me a conversation is an argument I always win. I have to hand it to him. The man from my dream is upset. His falafel is taking longer than expected. He says again, I have a gun. Something I've never seen before happens by the Christiana Mall, and I run in the opposite direction. Poem. Hey man, I'm in town for a few days. Let's grab a drink. They should make a type of weekend that kills you. They should make a number of beers that kills you when you drink them fast enough. They should make a type of car you drive when the beers haven't killed you yet, that kills you when you drive it. They should make a type of obituary for someone you used to love that surprises you for once. Maybe their families put a poem at the end that kills you when you read it. Maybe this is a type of poem that kills you when you read it. Maybe you're a new type of dead right now that no one's ever been before. Uh, this was my first book. It's called Liver Mush. It's about this breakfast meat that is local to like Western North Carolina. If you're from anywhere really in the mid-Atlantic, you might know Scrapple. It's similar to Scrapple. I think the difference is that Scrapple has like clove and some kind of baking spices in it that make it have a little bit different flavor. It's not really important. I'm from North Carolina originally, and so it's a book about home more than it is about food, but you know, this is the first poem from that book. Everything you need to know about liver mush. It's breakfast. It's parts of a pig and cornmeal and some other shit. It's a little gray block of meat wrapped in plastic. You can fry it or eat it cold. It's a funny word. It's fun to say. Go on, say it. Liver mush. Liver mush. Liver mush. Oh yeah, that's the stuff. This is a poem that is kind of like a prequel to my second book. New friends in the city. I shared with the couple next door a few poems about liver mush, and the men led me to their room and showed me a gun. This is the this is the poem about like consumerism and how it solves mental health. T-shirt that cures depression. I want a t-shirt that cures depression. I bought a t-shirt 10 years ago to cure my depression. It's tie-dyed with an image of bears playing musical instruments. There is a bear with a banjo, and a bear with a fiddle, and a bear blowing into a moonshine jug. I bought a t-shirt a month ago to cure my depression. It's black with Bugs Bunny and tabs from the Looney Tunes. Their hair is braided and they're wearing Nike pants. Above them is the word backwoods. There is something about animals dressed as people I hope cures my depression. Every time I buy a t-shirt, I hope it cures my depression. Every time I buy anything, I hope it cures my depression. Me plus any new thing equals no more depression. That's my motto. I have books I haven't read, I bought to cure my depression. I have art I haven't hung up, I bought to cure my depression. I have a bike I don't ride, I bought to cure my depression. I have hats and shoes and jackets and sunglasses I don't wear, but I bought to cure my depression. Every useless thing is a t-shirt that cures depression. The only rule a t-shirt that cures depression has to follow is it will never cure my depression. So yeah, I'm way ahead of you. I already have an answer to your question. Liver mush is a t-shirt that cures depression. This is the last one I'll read from this book. Shout out local Philadelphia architecture. Everything gray is liver mush. Fog crushing the Walt Whitman Bridge with its huge ass. It's a haiku. The halal poem, well, yeah, the poem, that's what they're called, that I read was like a riff on this poem. And this is the first poem of I'm just going to read the first section of I Have a Gun. to get an idea of where this thing goes. It's like a long poem, but it's like broken up into 9 sections. A gun is a conversation. A gun is an argument I always win. A conversation is an argument when you have a gun. Everybody listen up. I have a gun. A gun is a metaphor in the same way saying, I'm going to kill you is a metaphor. People interpret it differently if I'm holding a gun. When I don't have a gun, it's fun to say I have a gun, because if I had a gun, no one would laugh except me. What I mean is, it's not a joke if the gun is real. If I had a gun, I couldn't say I have a gun. There's no gun in this poem, just the word gun. If there was a gun in this poem, I'd use it to be a hero and get a bigger gun. I'd point the gun at some bad person, like a serial killer or a pedophile or, a cop. I'd point the gun at whoever you think is bad enough to continue reading. And if they had a gun, I'd say, give me that. I might even call them a bitch to be extra intimidating, just so the cop or serial killer or pedophile or whoever you need me to kill for you would think, that guy with the gun doesn't like me. He might shoot me if he thinks I'm a bitch. And I hate the word bitch. I don't like calling people bitches, even cops and pedophiles. I think it's cruel and sexist. But sometimes a hero must exist in ethically gray areas to end the life of someone he doesn't really vibe with. Thank God that cop from above doesn't exist. And thank God that gun from above doesn't exist. They're both just words. They're both just metaphors. Thank God you're safe. Thank God you're in good hands. And even though this poem mentions the murder of cops and serial killers and whoever else you wanted me to kill when I gave you permission to imagine it, and even though this poem called people bitches, and even though you're partly complicit temporarily and mentally in the taking of lives that were lost, the part of the poem I'm least comfortable with is a pedophile. A lot of people could say poems shouldn't have guns, but I think poems should have more guns if only to get rid of pedophiles. Poems shouldn't have pedophiles. And look, even though we both hate pedophiles, you're partly complicit in the existence of the pedophile in this poem, because he had to live before you imagined him dead. You had to will him and his crimes into existence before you had not only gave me permission, but encouraged me to take his life executioner style. You did imagine him dead, right? You didn't just let him get away with it, did you? All those crimes you imagined him doing, you didn't just let that scumbag walk away. Logan the pedophile, that was his name. That was your pedophile's name. If you're going to erase a precious human life, if you're going to commit the ultimate sin, I think you should know your victim. I think you should know Logan. Logan worked as a junior analyst at a PNC bank. Logan drank room temperature tonic water for lunch. Logan owned a chameleon named Carl. But before that humanizes Logan too much, Carl had been neglected most of his life. Carl was underfed and rarely given water. He's missing toes on his front and back feet. Don't worry, though. He's dead now. Logan's dead. I killed him. I killed the pedophile with my gun, executioner style, while he walked to his 2008 Mercury Milan after leaving work on a Thursday afternoon, because that's what you wanted. Thank God I'm a hero. Thank God you're in good hands. And if you're interested in adopting Carl, call or visit Maine Lion Animal Rescue in Phoenixville, Pennsylvania, 610-933-0606. He'd love a fresh start. So that's how the book starts, and then the book ends, hopefully in like a more lighthearted way. These are haikus, they're translations of Busan. Last poet in the gun, my mind returns. Let's start over. Last poet in the gun, my mind returns to that first bullet. First day of spring, the sun tears through honeysuckle vine like an unregistered gun. I don't know which gun birthed this lone shell casing? By the Schuylkill Banks, late season ice erodes the riverbed. A warm gun wiped clean. Coolness, the sound of a bullet as it leaves the gun. Shooting one gun with another gun. The perfect poem. All right. Thank you.
Damn. That was Graham Irvin. That was the bookends of this book, which was by Graham Irvin, published by Rejection Letters, called I Have a Gun. Really one of the most singular reading experiences I have had in the last X amount of years. And Graham, I'm so glad that you were here and able to bring those poems to life for us. And there is so much more in the middle of those. That was section 1 and I think section 9 of the book. And there's, eight, math says there are 7 sections in between, or 8 sections in between, or however the math works on that you should read. And you can find Graham's stuff on Twitter at Graham J. Irvin, GrahamJirvin, and on Instagram at _GRAM_IRVIN. Also, keep up with Graham's published, unpublished books, non-books, poems, etc. on his personal website, which is Graham Irvin, GrahamIrvin.com. Whew, all right. So it's always a little bit bittersweet to get to our last reader of the evening, but we've been riding highs, we've been doing all kinds of beautiful things, and I'm very, very excited to ping pong back into Virginia for our very, very last reader of the evening. Last but certainly not least, Joseph M. Jablonski. Joseph M. Jablonski is the typewriting street poet of Winchester, Virginia. As the walking mall poet, for the past 5 years, he has written personalized poems for passersby on antique typewriters. In addition to being published by Live in a Press, he is an artist in residence currently at the Peter Bulla Foundation and the Good Listening Project. Thank you, Joseph, for being with us tonight. I'll cede the floor to you.
Thank you so much. I am going to read poems kind of in 3 rough parts tonight. The first are a couple of poems I've been writing about technology. The second will be 1 or 2 poems that I've been writing about my son. I have a 22-month-old son. Who's my first child, and then I'll read a few street poems, some stuff I've written for other people that has stuck with me. So this poem is titled On the Neural Synapses Attempting to Navigate to Reddit. I've never read this, and this is a first draft. The letter R. The letter R. Pointer finger, left hand, incognito browser already open, but I stopped myself here trying to analyze the demand. Pointer finger, left hand feels different than the rest. And on the screen, it is the empty browser tab, but I have Pavlov's dog staring back. I cannot remember getting here. And something trembles. Is that me? Trembling? There is a silent screaming. It is dulled now that it knows I am looking for it, but it is still whispering. Go, 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 Joseph. Once again, 4 times a day, back to the endless scroll. Perfect. Always new. What am I looking for? To be new? Always do. And then I leave and close the open screen, but I cannot reach back down the rabbit hole. I cannot grab this demon by the cuff and buff him one new. I cannot grasp the neural paths untrained from youth. The medication hid you, you fool, but it will run off, skipping down the path with a laugh, Catch me if you can. I look at my hand as if it is not mine. Maybe some other time. Maybe some other time. This one is kind of a repetition poem. It is entitled Blackout. It imagines solar winds knocking out all technology. On the day of the storm, there will be no more memes, no more tweets, no more live streams. There will be no more live 360, no more prime charged yearly. No more disembodied voices, no more posting about choices, no more tabloids and homepage sidebars, no more texting in moving cars, no more co-pilot or bard, no more DLC surcharge, no more smart ovens, no more Tesla or Rivian, no more Zuckerberg surveillance, no more hi-fi hindrance of silence, no more 5G conspiracy, no more Verizon AT&T, no more on-demand Disney fed to the children via black screen, no more Black Mirror blue light groupthink, no more books compressed into e-ink, no more Tumblr or 4chan, no more Craigslist ads selling children. No more ringtone sing, no more flip swipe ping, no more Times New Roman or Comic Sans. No more dial up or high speed broadband. No more televised masses. No more online classes. No more FaceTiming grandma as she dies. No more AI altered deepfake lies. No more Slack. No more Gmail or Excel. No more layoffs from the kitchen table. No more high school Facebook reconnect. No more cyberbullying, teenage death. No more doubts about reality. No more helped connectivity. There will just be you and me, and the hand holding nothing but the air in between. So this is a poem. I know that someone in the chat said that stars stuff is good. So this is my poem about when my son first said the word stars. So we're moving to those poems, a little lighter hearted. A poem about the stars. I didn't know you knew, but it is true. You flew down from those heavens. So when I said stars, you also said stars. Through the tree, the eave in our yard. You knew those constellations connecting us to the above. What they said about the domes, poets in the tomes, you're already aware. Carry me on your coattails, wingtips of starships to find the future. You can see through time too, light years in a view. After a forever, in a whisper, we bid adieu. To the darkened blue, to the crescent moon. I am unwise in my surprise. You know the body dies, but the light it fills the skies. It fills our souls, great comet of life. You give me the most of a meteoric rise, and with you I feel the supernovas in your new astronaut eyes. This next poem. So my son's name is Hero. We named him Hero. So I had to write a poem about heroes. And so this is this poem. A poem about heroes. I'll tell you a secret, unadmitted by the human race. Limitation is learned. Do you feel that mustard seed heavy in the palm of your hand? Dragons whisper sweet nothings about comfort and easy living. It is when you are growing when you can choose to listen to other advisings. Listen to the divine, the miraculous, the impossible possible. Listen to the poets pursuing beauty for the sake of her everything. Listen to the martyrs who know mortality is a lie. Listen to the stories Campbell's self-histories in songs of mythology. And most of all, don't listen to me, because I am still learning from these and learning from you too. Speaking of dragons, this poem won an award in the Poetry Society of Virginia contest. This is part of that collection of poems for my son, and which is unpublished and will be published. So it's kind of like very well drafted shit. This is a poem about dragons. Someone left the cave open to our pasts. They roost in there, inside those eaves doors of the mind you may want to fear. Scaly and weird, sometimes appear during arguments. Your mother and I, we will deny. Yes, we will lie. So I gave you that children's book about such things as dragons. And also this poem, shaped like a sword, knighting thee with responsibility. To find these creatures, to admit they are real. Because when they crawl from the skeletons in our attics, they are hunting your soul, clawing at missing truth to breathe fire in flaws to grow. And we all have flaws. We all have claws. Because yes, you will deny and you will lie too. We all stuff our dragons into attics. But some like to ignore, prefer not to lift this heavy sword. But this sword, don't you see? Don't you see you must slay your humanity to really be a hero? I'm going to close out with some poems written on the street. So as kind of mentioned at the introduction, I do street busking poems. So these were written in a few minutes. These are all first drafts, and these were all handed off the typewriter to people downtown. I know, circling back to Virginia, this poem is about the Shenandoah River. Shimmering songs in the rustling waters of Vale's longing. O Shenandoah, the rolling memories of riverly souls. Many await for when they can sit again upon thy banks. A melody of travelers who see the poetry of your bends many. We love you across the wide traverse through our heartland. Our home refrain, mountains of love for your silent chorus. I get a lot of poems about friendship, and this one is called Friends. My face hurts from laughter. I mean, my eyes are smiling from all these stories we are sharing. You know what I was going to say. And with all of you, I can be myself. Silly and stoned and sad and completely glad that we gathered here, right here, where he will do that thing and she will say this zinger, and then we will all fall over in astonishment at the combined charisma our group shares. We will share this and so much more. The memories become our entertaining and a meaning that will linger long past our parting. This poem, I'm trying to remember what the request was, but there was a lot going on in this poem regarding Greek gods and love, and so yeah, there's a lot of stuff in this one. This is the last one I'll close out with tonight. Live as love for Jamie and Andrew. How his hands grip the Odyssey oars, your Venus glow and every aloft constellation in his eye. The divine mind, the whole soul, the brilliance below those deep waters, holding together the sharp genius of sun, the wild, playful lunar dance askance to the careful third eye that admires the full beauty. We channel being through the straits from Egypt to Iberia and the passage northwest of our hidden hemispheres, where your immortality guides. Thank you.
Amazing. You can hear I've got another cat, a totally different cat has joined in to listen to Joseph's marvelous reading. This is Basil, who is 17 years young and was absolutely entranced. If he could, maybe you'll see him just on the walking mall in T minus whatever that happens so that you can write the Basil poem. I am in awe of the fact that so many of those poems came together in just a few minutes' time. That was Joseph M. Jablonski, who is also known as the Walking Mall Poet. So if you're ever in Winchester, Virginia, A, let me know, but B, go and visit Joseph so that he can write you an incredible occasional poem. Joseph is on Instagram at Walking Mall Poet, WALKINGMALLPOET. And also you can check out all of Joseph's work, including the forthcoming publications and all of the availability for writing occasional poems and doing events, I believe, from looking at the website at walkingmallpoet.com. Wow, so we've had a reading here from the Schuylkill to the Shenandoah and back. It has been a really, really marvelous reading. I am so excited that everyone here was able to join. If you are listening in real time, thank you for being here in the Zoom call. If you're listening from the future, watching this on YouTube, thank you so much for giving this hour or so of your life over to poetry. I do just want to say, if you are listening and you have a sheaf of poems close at hand, or you know somebody who you'd like to hear read live, please reach out to us. We have readings coming up on July 18th, August 15th, September 19th, and beyond. There's lots of exciting stuff on the horizon, plenty of slots still available. And we always close Nightlight readings with a poem. Normally, I have done my homework and actually picked out something by a poet that I love and decided to share that. But also, I mentioned earlier, it's a little bit of like an anniversary thing. So I'm going to be a little bit self-indulgent. I'm going to close by reading a poem that I wrote the other day that I like. It's called All Together Now. So thank you all so much. I'm going to stop the recording after I read this. All together now. In the spreadsheet, I changed the cell padding and everything fits on one page. The bee gets caught in the netting around the tomato plant, and I go inside before I find out if they make it out or not. The plot of that prestige television show totally lost me, but the people in it are so beautiful, I keep watching. There's a bisexual character this season who I am watching for clues about how my life is supposed to go, so that I can ignore them and bring Edie in from outside. The rules for a funeral procession are, if you run a red light and I am behind you, then I have to go through too.